This chapter is about the Far Eastern cinema, specifically focusing on Korean and Japanese cinema. The reason that we started with Akira Kurosawa is because, in my opinion, Japanese cinema is mostly based on the works of two people. First of all, Akira Kurosawa, and the next person is Yasujiro Ozu. So these two people are actually at the both ends of a spectrum. On the one side is the most westernized and most Western recognized director, who is Akira Kurosawa, and on the other side of the spectrum is Yasujiro Ozu, who is very, very much focused on Japanese society, and his movies are mostly inspired by Japanese situations and the thinking and the socioeconomics of Japanese life. However, in Kurosawa, the majority of the themes and also the ideas are coming from the West. If we look at the characters of these two great directors, we see in Kurosawa all the people in the movie are actually kind of trapped in a socioeconomic situation in Japan, which they did not choose. And this socioeconomic situation is kind of pushing them down. And they are pushed to a point that they cannot take it anymore, and they have to rebel. All of his movies actually have this kind of rebellion themes. I'm not sure if all, but majority of his movies have this kind of themes. For example, Ran. We have this overlord who is supposed to be retiring, who is based on the socioeconomics of the society, has to go away and leave power to his sons. But he refuses to do so. He rebels against it. The next one of such movies is, we can, for example, mention Yojimbo. We have this person, this samurai, renegade samurai, who comes to this city and does not accept what is set in that city, that two families, two mobs are controlling the city. He doesn't accept it and rebels against it. Here, what we have is this person who is, at the beginning of the movie, realizes that he's gonna die. And completely to the surprise of a Japanese viewer, he actually rejects to accept his fate. And his reaction to it is completely surprising to a Japanese viewer. So if this was a movie made by Yasujiro Ozu, the character would realize this and will accept that he's dying, and then he will try to live with it. And you'll see how this new situation changes his way of living and his way of interactions with other people. But with Kurosawa, no. The first thing that comes to the character is that he realizes that he's not afraid of death because he has nothing to lose with dying. His whole life is revolving around around his son, and his son doesn't give a whit about him. That's what he says, and actually we see that that's true. So his first question is, why am I not afraid of dying? Why am I not afraid of losing life? And that's what actually makes him so sad, that he actually is not afraid of losing life, that he has nothing to fight for. And then that's the nice thing about it, that he starts to search for meaning in life so that he cares about dying. And from there, the movie takes a new dive. So we start to see that he tries to confide in his son. At the beginning, he goes into the room of his son and sits there, just in an area that is surrounded by sun. His son comes in, and he realizes that his son is the last person he should go to, because his son does not care at all about him. Actually, his son is wishing his death somehow. So the next thing he tries to find is pleasure. Is what is worthy in life? Is it pleasure? And he looks for pleasure, and he realizes after a couple of nights of taking full pleasure that no. And he sings that song, that death song again, and we realize there by his expressions in his face that no, he did not find pleasure to be the meaning in life. And then next day he actually finds the meaning in life, and that's human companionship somehow. He goes out with this really nice girl. He cares about her. He tries his best to connect with her. And then when he finally connects, when that moment he grabs the toy, the rabbit, small white rabbit toy, he realizes that what is the meaning of life. And now his endeavor is not for realizing the meaning of life, but rather to stay in the minds of the living people. So there's two aspects to life. The outward aspect as for you as a person, that you want to care about life, and the next thing is you want others to care about your life. And specifically, you want them to remember that you were here. And that's what he starts to, at that moment, he starts an endeavor to create a public park so that he will be remembered through this. And the rest is history. The rest, we know how he tries his best to change two things. First, to change the city with creating this public park and to leave his mark on the city. And the next is he tries to change the lives of his colleagues, which the next one he fails at. And we realize this at the end of the movie. We see that the bureaucrats are the bureaucrats till then. But he is actually able to, but notice that the movie, although the movie shows one last shot of the bureaucrats, but the movie does not end there. The movie ends with a shot from the park that wants to give us the impression that although he failed at his secondary mission, which was to change the life of bureaucrats around him, but he actually succeeded in leaving a mark in the city and being remembered by some people that are living. I want to go back to Kurosawa and talk a little bit more about him because this is the last movie we see from him. Kurosawa's movies are mostly inspired by Western-themed ideas. That's why in Japan, actually, to the surprise of many people, when you go to Japan, Japanese people are not crazy about Kurosawa. Really. Because they think that he's too Western. As opposed to, as I said, the other side of the spectrum, Yasujiro Ozu, who is actually the most favorite director in Japan. And most of the contemporary Japanese directors take after Yasujiro Ozu rather than taking after Kurosawa. So, and we see this is true actually. For example, this movie was inspired by the death of Ivan Illich, as our friend pointed out. His other movie, for example, Ran, is inspired by King Lear of Shakespeare. Another movie, for example, Throne of Blood, is inspired by Macbeth. The Lower Depth is inspired by The Lower Depth by the great Maxim Gorky. Another movie of him, The Idiot, is again a remake of The Idiot of Dostoevsky. So he takes great works of literature from the world literature, but the great thing about it is he makes them Japanese. So if you never knew about the book of The Death of Ivan Illich, you have no idea that this is taken from a completely different society. The main source of this happened in Russian society, but he takes it and he brings it into Japanese society, and he does it so well that if you did not know about the death of Ivan Illich, you would never notice that this is taken from that. And this is a great work. This is what makes Kurosawa one of the best in history. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.